Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Prime and Load. We're here with Doctors Alex Burns and Andrew Bamford, as always, and this is going to be your round 3 update for the Top Generals bracket. All right, and again, as all our other updates have been, our doctors have not heard the results yet, and so we're going to go through our lineups. And I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been voting. It's been really consistent, and we're very glad that all of our listeners are sticking with us. Since we're down to our final few, what's going to happen for each winner, we're going to have our doctors give another brief bio. It's been a while. On round 1, we gave them very quick bios, but now that we've whittled out, saying our less deserving seems kind of harsh, but our doctors are going to give us a bit more details about the winners so that when you go into our next round of voting, you can be as informed as possible. So our first matchup is Hyder Ali versus Eugene of Savoy. And the winner with 77% of the vote is Eugene.
I'm surprised it was that margin. I thought that would be closer.
No, I can only say it's Prince Eugene with the steel chair. No, I'm not shocked, I guess. I mean, I think we've already kind of torpedoed the idea that name recognition is super important. Otherwise, George Washington would still be winning. But I will say, it's not the same kind of rags to riches story. Prince Eugene doesn't come up from nothing, but he does sort of make his way from France to sort of being an incredibly important soldier in the mortal enemy of France at this time, the Habsburg Empire, right? So there is an element of kind of making yourself over in somewhere new. It's hard to keep a good Eugene down. I mean, I guess I think that he's got a very long and successful military career. He's without question I would say the greatest Habsburg aligned military leader in history. Do you think I'm wrong about that, Andrew? Do you think there's anyone else would put up for the that maybe dubious title?
Oh goodness, not for the horse and musket era. Certainly, I think you're probably right. I'm not qualified to comment outside of that. So no.
There was a book on Habsburg grand strategy was the title, and Prince Eugen or Prince Eugene was on the cover. So I guess I'm not sure that there's much. I mean, it's like Eugene and like Radetzky, right? I mean, I guess. Oh, we're gonna have to edit this out because I've just completely flubbed. Who's the guy in the later part of the Napoleonic Wars who fights with the Austrians? Andrew, is it Prince Charles?
The Archduke Charles, yes.
Yeah, Archduke Charles. Yeah. So he could be up there too. Yeah, I think it's probably Eugene. Eugene's the best the Habsburgs have to offer throughout all time and space. So maybe he beat Hyder Ali, and that's okay. Just a brief biography of Eugene. He born obviously in France. Thinks about a military career for serving in the army of Louis XIV. That doesn't work out. He decides to go to Austria, becomes a prominent military commander for the Habsburgs, is present in a very junior officer role at the Battle of Vienna in 1683, goes on to fight a number of major battles against the Turks. He is incredibly prominent and kind of up there with John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough, in the War of Spanish Succession, in terms of sort of holding back Bavarian and French power, maintaining Habsburg dominance, I guess you would say. He's present with the Duke of Marlborough at Blenheim or Hochstadt. He's also something he does solo, I guess we'd say, is he goes down to fight the Battle of Turin or Torino in 1706, saves that city from a French siege in one of the I think most interesting battles in the early part of the 18th century. The prominence where Eugene comes over the hill and sort of asks for the intercession of the Virgin Mary is now basically the tombs of the Savoyard kings. Seperga is the sort of the name of this. If you ever in Torino, go visit it. It's incredible to see kind of where Eugene was standing, kind of overlooking this battlefield. Wins some great victories over the Turks after the War of Spanish Succession comes to a close. I think most famously at Belgrade in 1717. Closes out his career in the War of Polish Succession as a very old commander. He meets a young Frederick the Great. He probably, I think, influences Frederick the Great in some ways. Both of them are kind of very flamboyant, sort of larger than life personalities that like nice clothes. They get along pretty well, and I think Frederick probably enjoyed his time with Prince Eugene, especially after his sort of father left, and Frederick was able to just kind of hang out with Eugene.
Awesome. And our next matchup is Charles of Sweden and Frederick the Great. And the winner with 86% of the vote is Frederick the Great.
I guess it's not a steel chair. I mean, you can't use guns to shoot people in the head in professional wrestling, I guess, right? So, but
no.
That's what happens to Charles XII, right? Not shocked. My students get this one wrong every semester. There are people who are romantically, in love with the young, dashing warrior king of Sweden who goes out and tries to, basically hold the ravages of time at bay and preserve the Swedish Empire, and gets shot in his head for the trouble. So the Swedish Empire collapses. Not a lot you can do about that. Frederick came close to the same disaster in the 7 Years' War. Is a little bit more flexible than Charles, and so I'm not shocked that he's won out. I mean, after all, Frederick dies in his bed. His last words: "Cover the dog, he is shivering." He's concerned about his pooches. I guess I would say maybe that's not as romantic as getting shot in the head at the Siege of Frederickston. But when you die in your bed as a very successful 18th century monarch, you probably deserve to win the bracket. Do we want a brief bio on Frederick? Do we feel like we know him pretty well at this point? Like,
I think we know Frederick pretty darn well.
All right.
So our next matchup is Maximilian von Braun versus John Churchill. And the winner with 89% of the vote is John Churchill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And I know we'll have one listener who was leading a doomed von Braun campaign, with possibly with multiple email addresses, if Alex is to be believed. But yeah, sorry, Ryan, your guy's gone. But I think that was possibly inevitable. Having said that, we've just been sort of saying Eugene was the best the Habsburgs had in the ranch, but another Habsburg general make it into the final eight. They certainly weren't a collection of duds. But yeah, Marlborough. I think I tapped Marlborough at the beginning as my likely winner. He's certainly the last Brit standing, and undeservedly so, over the British competition in this era. I talked about the French, of course. He learnt his trade under Turenne, so that was a real error by Bourbon France, because he turned that back on them in spades. I mean, to briefly summarise the career, as he may, as a very young man, have served at Tangier. We're not sure about the records on that. Served with the British contingent that Charles II had hired out to the French. Went on really to rise as something of a protege of the future James II, whose mistress, of course, was Marlborough's sister. Was second in command at Sedgemoor, putting down the Monmouth Rebellion. Arguably the key player on the establishment side in that. And then promptly betrays the guy who's sponsored his career and supports the Glorious Revolution and William and Mary coming in to no limited extent because of the connection that his wife has with James's younger daughter, the future Queen Anne. If you've seen the film The Favourite, that's a rather imaginative take on that relationship, and some interesting court pastimes that may or may not be historically legit, but certainly the fact that he's got that in with the court probably preserves him, because William, I think, rightly doesn't entirely trust him and largely sidelines him through the wars in Ireland and the 9 Years' War. But at the point that, and I made this point when we were plugging William III as a contender for the bracket, one of the great things William does is create the alliance against Louis XIV that fights the War of Spanish Succession. And what Marlborough does with great skill is take over, to some extent, the management of that alliance in Britain's favour. He's not just a general; he's an excellent political manoeuvrer as well, both in terms of surviving the fairly rocky domestic politics of England, Great Britain in the sort of the closing years of the Stuart monarchy, but also the European politics. He's able to keep various independently minded allies on side. He can deal with the Dutch generals, even though they're sent, the Dutch estates are sending politicians into the field to overrule them. He can work incredibly well with the Habsburgs. I mean, the majority of his victories, it's really a double act with Eugene, and it's going to get really interesting if we end up with a Eugene versus Marlborough final. That would be a difficult one. But I mean, he's the consummate field commander. He can fight a set piece battle as he does at Blenheim and Ramillies. He can fight more of a meeting engagement as he does at Oudenarde. Malplaquet is a victory on points, but it's a mess. But he comes back from that, and the next time he has to face the French in a fortified position, no, he doesn't attack them head on again, because that was a mistake. He manoeuvres them out of them, and he wins without a battle in terms of lines of non plus ultra. And he does this again, against some of the best that Louis XIV has got. He humbles a whole succession of France's top marshals. The fact that he falls is ultimately politics, and the fact that Queen Anne's finally got sick of his wife, and so the end of the career is perhaps a little bit of a whimper rather than a bang. But again, if a mark of success is that you die in your bed with your honours, and in his case in a huge palace built for him by a grateful nation, you've not done badly.
Which you can still visit.
Indeed, yes, go to Blenheim, definitely.
Hey everyone, Lee here for the Prime and Load team. We're passionate about exploring 18th century history and tactics and bringing those stories to you. But we need your help to grow our ranks. Please share this episode with a fellow history buff, leave a review where you can, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Most of all, join our email list. It gets you updates and insights into what's coming. You can join by using the link in this episode's description below. Thanks for listening, and now let's get back to the episode. All right, now our last matchup is Maurice de Saxe versus Ferdinand of Brunswick. And the winner, with 83% of the vote, is Maurice.
Boo, boo. No, I'm yeah.
I'm going to say, I mean, obviously, I'm Team Maurice all the way. Obviously, he's going to have to lose to Marlborough in the next round, but this is as far as he was going to go. I thought that would have been closer.
Again, not that we're imposing.
Yeah, not that we're imposing, right? Right.
Yeah. All right, Andrew. I don't know. Can you muster up one or two facts about Maurice?
Whether we haven't heard already. Yeah, this is a little bit the challenge with Frederick, because we talked about Fontenoy. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing with de Saxe is he gets remembered for his great victories in Flanders, one of which we've done a whole episode on, and again, as we sort of go through the Austrian succession anniversaries, I'm sure we'll talk about Raku and Lafelt as well. And he gets remembered for those, deservedly so. It's argued that Fontenoy bought the Bourbons another quarter century on the throne, so well thought victories with long-reaching effects. The other aspect, of course, is his writings, his reveries. I think I only described them as a bit of a sort of fever dream approach to writing military theory, but he does come up with these ideas for a more mobile, a more active approach, a more aggressive approach to warfare, as a breakaway from a focus on fortresses and sieges and into decisive battle. It's one of the great what ifs. If his health, which he hadn't done a great deal to sustain, it has to be said, his fondness for high living and young ladies is something we've remarked upon. But it would be very interesting to know how the French army under his leadership might have performed in the 7 Years' War if he had perhaps had a few more early nights and been around long enough to face Frederick on the field. That would have been a instructive exercise, I suspect.
Different Rossbach, probably. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. The thing I was going to say, the thing we haven't talked about so much really was the earlier stages. He doesn't spring fully formed onto the stage as Marshal and then Marshal General of France. Of course, he learns his trade under Eugene in the Imperial Service. I mean, there's a suggestion that I just mentioned talking about Marlborough, the bloodbath at Malplaquet, and he Saxe realizes that if you dig your troops in the right position, let the enemy come to you, you're probably going to slaughter them, and that's a recipe that he repeats at Fontenoy. The other impressive bit that comes from that is the thing that really draws him to the French attention when he comes into French service is his role in the storming of Prague at the very beginning of the Austrian Succession War. We'd already missed that anniversary when we picked up the ones we've been talking about, so we haven't done an episode on that. But a Franco-Saxon attack on the city, which he's obviously very well placed to be in charge of, because he's the illegitimate son of the Elector of Saxony, King of Poland, Augustus the Strong. And indeed, in this offensive, most of the Saxon generals are his illegitimate half-brothers, by others of Augustus's many mistresses. But it's if you want a model of how to take a city by storm and escalade, then go look at the storming of Prague. It really is a masterclass again in that aggressive, grab the bull by the horns sort of approach to warfare that he does largely follow. And having said that, and I've already mentioned Fontenoy, which is a prime example in not doing that, I would suggest you have nevertheless got a commander with the flexibility to realise that it isn't always a good idea to just go charging at the enemy with the bayonet, and actually if you're in a more delicate situation and without the advantage of numbers that he has in most of his battles, to manoeuvre your opponent into a situation where he's attacking you at a disadvantage. So a great commander, absolutely. Deserves to have got this far, but he ain't Marlborough.
Oof. We are down to our final four. We have Eugene of Savoy, Frederick the Great, and then we have John Churchill and Maurice de Saxe.
Can I jump in here for a second, Lee?
Yeah.
Can we ask, Andrew, which one of these guys do you want to go have coffee with? Forget he's a great general. Of the final four, who do you want to spend an afternoon with?
Oh, no! If you said an evening, it'd be a night out with Maurice for sure. But
as the employee of a faithful Catholic university, I don't know that I can agree. But go ahead. Yeah.
No,
an evening with Maurice. Okay, all right.
Yeah. No, coffee with Marlborough. It's got to be, I think, bit more restrained. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be tea with Marlborough. Like
oh no, coffee for coffee for that
Yeah,
era.
yeah.
I think absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, get the round blending, get the silver service out. Yeah, that's
What is? Yeah, I mean, even John Marshall Dean, private soldier in the War of Spanish Succession, says what's really wrong with England is all the coffee house warriors. So yeah, I mean, it's there, it's present.
Even better.
Lee, who would you pick? Who do you want to hang out with for an afternoon?
I think it would have to be Frederick, mostly because I could hold it over my brother-in-law's head for the rest of his life. He's a massive Frederick Gray fan.
Your brother-in-law is possibly the biggest Prussian fanboy I've ever met.
It's true, yes.
Yeah.
Having that on him would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Just for the dunking points there.
I also just incredibly interesting for sure. I think the language barrier would be tough, but again,
speak French should be fine. Yeah. Okay. So Frederick for you.
And yourself, Alex?
I think I'd probably go Eugene. I think Frederick just kind of seems like spiky. I mean, obviously, as like a historian hat on, I'd want to go talk to Frederick. But I think I might actually enjoy just hanging out with Eugene a little more. He seems like a guy who, he's not afraid to have a good time, but maybe not to the excess that Maurice is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think that's good. And I don't know, Maurice will have to have a timeout by himself, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we'll all go chill with Maurice at some point after this.
There you go. We could all. Yeah, we'd have to draw straws for the DD though. I think.
I
wouldn't want to miss out on that.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, did you call this? Is this the Final Four that we predicted, Andrew?
I think I was certainly predicting Washington making it further than he did.
Yeah. I think most of our Final Four predictions were ruined in that first round.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is how the best brackets occur.
Certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want more on Frederick, you can listen to our Ho and Friedeberg episode.
That's right.
If you want more on De Sax, you could listen to our Fontenoy episode.
We'll have to do episodes for the other two. I think we can find some topics, but ultimately this is the start of round 4. To participate in round 4, you would have had to participate at least once in the other 2 rounds. So there's going to be email ballots sent out to all of you who've participated. So for our Final Four, we're also implementing another voting system. If you support the show through Buy Me a Coffee in the link below, you will get 1 vote for your commander for every $1 you spend. So if you're a real big Eugene fan, go ahead and throw some money in the Buy Me a Coffee and you can get more votes for Eugene. I guess we're going to consider this kind of a commission purchasing program, a purchasing.
It's good old 18th century corruption. I mean, Walpole would be proud.
Isn't Prince of Eugene of Savoy worth a $5 cup of coffee?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, you're going to get either an email ballot to vote, or you can contribute to the Buy Me a Coffee and get some votes for your candidate that way, or do both. So again, round 4 is up. Let's see who's going to be in the final showdown for the top commander in the 18th century.
That's it for this episode of Prime and Load. We hope you enjoyed us as much as we did. Don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter with the link in the description. It's the best way to stay up to date with the show, see what's coming up next, and ask us questions. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode was hosted by Drs. Alexander Burns and Andrew Bamford. It was produced by Lee Gacino, music by Brianna Tam, Ardi Son, and Adrian Beringer. Prime and Load is a Historic Studios podcast.